The mods showcased in this video are going to be PotentialGrim, ResponsivePlus, and Improved Animations Pack. I should also mention that I'm using Recoil Fix, which fixes the spread on the PC version of the game. It, as of January 2021, comes with the downgrader for the game. PotentialGrim basically takes the saying of Liberty City being the worst city in America and puts it into reality, at least in terms of danger. It takes the gang life and gives them more presence, especially if you're playing throughout the story. While the main story progresses, gang statuses towards you and relationships between each gang can change. Which, fun fact, this is actually a fix. The normal game was supposed to use this, but the code was apparently fucked up or something like that. Also, during nighttime, the city will have more gang members in certain areas. Another thing it does is it gives certain civilians the criminal tag, meaning that they'll try to fight more often, they'll buy drugs, that sort of stuff. But I'd say the most obvious thing that this mod does is that certain gang members will try and fight each other, obviously only if they are rivals. So you can be driving through North Algonquin and two people can start attacking each other, sometimes with nothing, sometimes with knives, or even guns. And these fights can kind of evolve since around North Algonquin there's like two gang rivals that are right next to each other. This mod is really hard to showcase, so I would recommend just reading through it or playing through it yourself. ResponsivePlus does a lot of stuff, so I'll list the most notable ones for me. It makes it so vehicles don't take nearly as much damage from shots as before. For example, 2 shotgun shots to the back of vehicles would usually catch it on fire immediately, while now it can actually take triple that amount. It also gives vehicles more variety in terms of their handling. More specifically, it gives most vehicles a buff in suspension, acceleration, and driving force. And now, the most important features to me as a long-time GTA 4 player, it makes the weapons actually scary in the hands of NPCs. What I mean by this is, the weapons do more damage, but not to the extent of garbage quote-unquote realistic weapon mods do. It makes the weapons perfectly balanced in my eyes. Well, almost perfectly balanced. Right here, I got shot basically point-blank range with a fucking shotgun, and I didn't die, or even really lose that much health, but I do think that this is a rare occurrence. It does other stuff to weapons as well, like the amount of ammo in a mag. The other thing that affects weapons is the price of them. Prices for weapons, ammo, and armor have been increased. And if you play on the Ballad of Gay Tony, it also increases the price for parachutes. The other thing is that certain weapons now spawn in traffic more often. But honestly, if you wanted more variety in the traffic, I would use a mod like Traffic Flow, RIL, Budgeted, or some other shit like that. Another thing that this mod changes is the visuals. The mod does a lot to visuals, but they're kind of small, so I'll just read what the mod page says word for word. Time cycles have been minorly enhanced. The moon now shows at every night hour of every weather. The far clip was increased. Overworld lighting and shadows show properly in every hour of cloudy and rainy weathers. Colors of the overworld's lighting and water have been enhanced in some hours of certain weathers to match better with the sky's color and blurriness. Bloom and brightness/darkness have been reduced in certain hours of some weathers, as well as saturation in certain hours of rainy weathers. Additionally, several interior cycles now look somewhat smoother. So yeah, that's quite a lot of shit that this mod does to visuals alone, but I should note that my gameplay has some other visual shit installed, such as Reality IV 2.0's shaders and the Sky Dome, but I'm not going to talk about it that much here as I'm kind of working on a video right now. Anyway, there's way more shit that this mod does, so I suggest that you check out the mod page for more. And now, the final mod I'm going to showcase here is Improved Animations Pack. This mod was one of my dream mods for a really long time. The reason being is that it fixes the AI's rate of fire and fixes the drive-by rate of fire for weapons such as the MP5. The other thing is that it uses the console animations for assault rifles and also fixes the reload animation for assault rifles. If you don't know what this means, then basically on the PC version of the game, when you shoot the assault rifles, there is a firing delay. I'm not sure why Rockstar did this, but it could be because on the console version of the game, you can do this. Either way, it's really annoying, and the SMGs can do the same thing from this clip. Also, having each shot be slightly delayed is really annoying. So yeah, this mod fixes that shit, and it also fixes the reload animation. Fixing the reload animation meaning fixing this reload animation, and obviously that's not proper. Which, quick fun fact, in the normal game, if you reload while standing, it'll cock it like that. But if you crouch and reload, it'll do the proper reload animation, which is also slower. Anyway, the mod fixes that stuff, and it also has some other fixes and improvements, but the ones I talked about here are pretty much the biggest for me. You can check out the mod page for more. These mods combined make the game a lot more interesting combat-wise, and most importantly, more difficult. It also makes the game more realistic if you're kind of into that. If you want more subtle vanilla friendly mods to use for combat, you can use Bleed and Heal, Dawg's recoil config, weapon weight, and bullet impact euphoria. Links for those will be in the description, but they're not going to be properly showcased here. PotentialGrim technically has more of an impact in long-term play, for example if you play throughout the story, but it's definitely interesting to use even if you're just casually free roaming, or even in PvE scenarios. You can also trigger some gangs to shoot at you and stuff. And this mod is actually really hard to showcase. Maybe it's my fault, but either way I think this mod is really good, and it's one of the greatest mods for the game, especially if you want to play through the story or you want to play through a mod like LCPDFR. ResponsivePlus doesn't make the damage overkill like those absolutely garbage ass realistic damage mods out there. With those mods, if you shoot someone in the leg with a Glock, it can literally two-shot them. So yeah, those mods are pretty much terrible and not fun or even close to balanced. Though I do think that the AK-47 might do a little bit too much damage, but either way the ammo is reduced a lot, so you have to use it wisely. In vanilla GTA 4, I could probably kill cops for hours with 6 stars. No healing, nothing like that. The AI is just so bad due to their low damage and slow fire rate that it's really not that hard, especially since I use a keyboard and mouse. Not to mention you're given so much ammo in the game. Thankfully, ResponsivePlus and improved animations pack fixes those faults and makes the game an actual challenge. For example, you really have to think when you move. It's not that big of a deal, but in the normal game, I could literally just run out and fight out in the open in vanilla. But with this, I actually have to be careful and use cover. And since ResponsivePlus makes it so vehicles don't blow up in 2 seconds, you can actually use the vehicles as cover now. I think the biggest change you'll feel during cop shootouts is probably the helicopter presence. Seriously, fighting the cop helicopters in the normal game can be pretty hard. But with this mod, with the fixed fire rate and the bonus damage, it makes it really tricky. You have to balance your focus a lot between the helicopters and the cops on ground, so it's actually a skill that requires development if you want to shoot cops for a while without healing. Versus the Police Maverick, it's actually really not that hard, but the Annihilator is the hard one, so here's some tips. For the Police Maverick, you can easily take out the pilot by shooting the glass part at the bottom. For both the Maverick and Annihilator, you can shoot the pilot through the door's windows when they let the Bat Cop shoot at you. Another more trickier tactic is to just shoot out the pilot when he's over water or over a tall enough building so that it doesn't blow up or catch on fire. When this happens, the helicopter blip will be on your radar, and when it's on the radar, more helicopters won't dispatch until you move away from the location. You can also shoot out the Bat Cop's guns out of their hands so that they only shoot with a pistol. This will also keep the helicopter there so more helicopters won't dispatch as well. You can also shoot the pistol out of their hands so that they don't shoot at all, but I think they can still fly away sometimes since the game thinks they ran out of ammo. Now, for the driving part that I mentioned earlier, I kind of actually don't like it at all. I think I'm a bit biased towards the driving in the game, but every time I use a vehicle driving mod like this, I just always suck with it. Every time I drive, I just flip over and I can't adapt properly. And this mod changes the driving just enough for me to just always flip and shit. I think this is just a me problem, and you'll really like this mod if you like that other realistic driving mod, because that other mod has more variety between like if you drive a semi-truck versus a sports vehicle. And this mod kind of does the same thing, but it's not as extreme as that mod. Now the visuals, I think this is probably the best time sync I've ever used besides Sweet Autumn or Skyline time sync. It doesn't change the graphics that much at all, but it fixes a lot of issues that the game has. And I think if you really like the vanilla graphics in the game, you should for sure always use this. But again, I'm going to be making a visual video soon on my graphic setup. Now, I haven't really beaten the game with this setup yet, but I really do recommend using the mods together if you ever play the single player, either for the story or using a mod like LCPDFR, or just when you want to free roam around. It's a real shame that these mods aren't really talked about because they are way better than any other like mainstream mod. And if you ever want to talk about mods or share mods or find mods, you can head to a few Discords. All the Discords that you can join are in the description if you want to find them.